how do you get better at what you're doing? When I was a writer, I read F. Scott Fitzgerald. I'm still a writer. But in the early days, I read F. Scott Fitzgerald and I mimicked how he did it. I wrote like F. Scott Fitzgerald. Hunter Thompson, I could write like Hunter Thompson. Ernest Hemingway, I could write like Ernest Hemingway. Then you take all of that and you start applying your own voice and you become your own voice. As an actor, Alan Rickman, we talked about, Sterling Hayden, Sterling Hayden, great character actor. What are other actors doing? What are other villains doing? What is Steven Spielberg doing in Saving Private Ryan? What are these masters of their craft doing? Commune with the masters. You don't just get a camera and go out there and stuff. Sure, if you got a really good, silly idea, then that might work. But you're not going to be generating the greatest films in the history of mankind if you don't watch what Sir Richard Attenborough did with A Bridge Too Far, or watch what, I'm trying to think of something very, very contemporary. Watch how UFC uses media. You know, how Dana White and those absolute masters of that sports stuff do. Watch how NFL covers NFL football games. You know, commune with the masters, whatever it is, director. How did Billy Wilder direct movies? How did Antoine Fuqua succeed or stumble? How did Oliver Stone create some of the most important movies in the planet and still make Alexander, which was a critical... By the way, I could tell you how Alexander would have been a huge critical success and a huge economic success, mostly by stripping stuff out of the movie and re-editing it. You know, it would have been shorter, it would have been lionized by the critics, and it would have been a much finer movie. However, nobody's going to tell Oliver Stone at that juncture how to direct a movie. Story skill is never going to go away. And I think that's at the core of what we do, whether you're doing a TikTok video or whether you're doing, Kevin Costner. Let's take Horizon. I know Kevin. I've gone quail hunting with him. He made some mistakes in the first Horizon, incomprehensible. And he should know better. This is a guy who did Open Range, impeccable movie. And yet he abandoned some of those. Remember we were talking about script writing being very, very rigid in some ways? Why would you open a movie with a portly surveyor and it just lays there for 10 minutes? That's not a way to open a movie. I can tell you how Horizon would have been a huge movie. Now, it sounds like I'm being grandiose, but it's just knowing story. Did you see Horizon?
I have not.
Okay. Well, when you see Horizon, you'll see Kevin Costner walking up a hill, having a repartee banter with a gunslinger, okay? It's some of the best. He had some of the best bad guys on the planet. That guy shooting is going to be a huge star. Great repartee, okay? Repartee, banter between them. He kills him, he shoots him, and then Kevin Costner has to go on the run. Well, Kevin's got 40 different stories in Horizon. If he had just structured it where they walk up that hill, the opening of the movie, they shoot each other, they have the shootout, then he goes on the run with the prostitute, and he runs into all those other 40 stories on the journey, movie's a huge success. And why because he should know better. Because he did Open Range, which is a perfect movie, or Dances with Wolves. Hubris gets anybody. The worst thing you can do is not listen to people who are around you. Yes, there's a time where you go, I've got to make an executive decision, but I listen to the people who are around me, take into what account they're saying, and then make a decision based on, and by the way, no creative idea should go undefended on a certain level. So watch Alexander and then give me a call and I'll tell you exactly how that movie could have been a huge critical and financial success. And it's merely by taking things out and re-editing it. So
I saw that last year, actually, Alexander.
Yeah.
With Colin Farrell, right?
Colin Farrell. Oh, for God's sakes, we might as well get into it. I'll tell you how you make that movie a great movie.
I know.
First of all, you remove Anthony Hopkins from the movie.
Hopkins is in it, yeah.
Okay. He has 5 or 6 scenes where he talks about Alexander conquered the known world. Alexander rallied his men. You get rid of him completely. It cuts 20 minutes off of your movie, and you do what he says in a couple of beautiful captions throughout the movie. So the movie's already 20 minutes shorter, okay? I don't advocate this for most movies, but Alexander and Jared Leto should have gotten it on. They kept saying they were homosexuals, and they kept like looking at each other weirdly from behind the thing. They should have had a love scene between Jared Leto and Colin Farrell. What else? You can't do anything about Angelina Jolie doing a Russian accent. I don't know what that's about, but she's still in the movie. And then Colin Farrell has 4 or 5 scenes where he rallies his troops to go forward. Cut all of those out and have one scene. The movie, and by the way, remember, the movie starts with, what does the movie start? It starts with not the elephant scene. In the center, they have this elephant battle, okay, that is so epic. It's unbelievable. So you start the movie. Now, I may get this wrong because I've got to remember right, but you start the movie with that elephant battle. The elephant rears up, and then you cut, and that's your beginning of the movie, and you tell the rest of the story, and you come back to the elephant battle, and the movie is epic, okay? And it's just like, now, hindsight and criticism, that's easy to come by. But what I'm telling you is there are people who know story, and there are people who know how to put a good movie together, and they need to not be consumed with hubris. They need to not get so godlike as they move down the director's stage that they go, I'm going to do it this way. And by the way, the business model that Kevin did on Horizon was really weird, really, really crazy. Now, it's easy for me to say, but the proof is in the pudding. The bottom line is, and I love him. He's a fantastic guy, but you abandon some very, very serious principles that you're doing, both storytelling and business model. I don't know if they'll get it back. I certainly hope he does for him. You know, there's got to be a place where somebody says, if it's not somebody external, yourself says, this is too much. I'm going over the line. And that's why I have a wife, and that's why I have a producing partner, and that's why I have other people. And we have pitch battles, but that's, we get to whatever the truth is. And sometimes you go with your instinct, but sometimes your instinct is, you've got to make sure there's somebody there that's going to go, I don't know. And by the way, you got to take chances.